smash the like button, and subscribe. Did you vote for Donald Trump?
Absolutely.
Why is that?
Well, I mean, there's a whole bunch of reasons. Let's start with the misinformation surrounding the alleged essay.
Misinformation? You mean the factual evidence indicating that Donald Trump sexually abused Eugene Carroll?
Okay, so what was the evidence that was used?
Yeah, so we can point to the fact that, one, there was a unanimous decision from a jury, right, indicating that Donald Trump sexually abused Eugene Carroll. We can point to specifically the fact that there was a psychologist that verified the trauma she went through. There were multiple other victims of Donald Trump's essay, specifically that gave their specific stories associated with the case. There was the specific character issue, specifically Donald Trump, where he specifically said she wouldn't have sexually abused her because she's quote-unquote not his type, but then a deposition mistook her with his ex-wife. There was the fact that he wouldn't give up his DNA after multiple years, right, given that he had a multiple-year time frame to give up his DNA, just to show that he wasn't at the scene of the crime, right? If he never met her, then that would obviously demonstrate that he wasn't at the scene of the crime, right?
Okay, so now hold on. I asked you what was the evidence that was used. You listed off a couple of things. There was some testimony from some 7 people. There was a dress that had alleged DNA from Donald Trump. Donald Trump at first said no. Donald Trump said no at first, that he wouldn't give them DNA. And then they started pushing hard on the trial. He saw that they weren't just going to back off the trial and that she was going to continue with the falsehoods and the propaganda. So he said, okay, I will give you my DNA. The judge then said, okay, now hold on. Let's just go ahead and exclude the DNA. We don't need DNA. We're just going to take this to trial.
He had multiple years.
Is that not what happened? Okay, but here's the deal. If it had his DNA on it, why would he even offer them to take his DNA and test it against that DNA? If it was his DNA, why would he even offer that? Why would that even come to the realm of possibilities? Not to mention the fact that his lawyer would have strictly recommended against that at any point in time, offering that evidence up.
You mean even after the point in which it is the case? Because, one, it would just demonstrate that he was at the scene of the crime. 2, as it relates to this, right, he did so after the point in order to delay the process. So him delaying the process was worth more to him. That also doesn't mean that, like, he didn't.
Then damnation. So okay. So you're saying that him delaying the process meant more.
He knew specifically that. He knew specifically that his DNA would not get accepted, right, and that they wouldn't even check.
So you're saying that off of a whim, he's just going to take the uncertainty of saying, yeah, sure, here's my DNA. You either test it or not. They're saying that it is his DNA. That would be damning evidence. So that is definitely something that they would have considered at least getting tested again. As in, it's damning evidence. It's evidence that would have 100% been undeniable. Whereas there's not a single other piece of information in the entire case that's undeniable, other than the fact that she says.
So wait, are you saying that you only accept something as evidence if it's undeniable?
As far as beyond a reasonable doubt, sure.
Okay, so no. So you only accept it if it's undeniable.
In that particular situation, you 100% need undeniable, unrefutable evidence.
Okay. So then I'll give you an example, right? If it is the case that there was someone held civilly liable of sexually abusing a woman, would you let them legally immigrate into the country?
Are we talking criminally liable or civilly liable?
I said civilly liable.
Civilly liable, there would have to be other investigations done to figure out what.
So you would let them. So you would let them legally come into the country.
I mean, you're okay with letting MS-13 legally come into the country, right?
No, I'm not. You're okay.
So
you're okay.
Then why are you pleading?
So then, you want to answer my question? Are you okay with them coming to the country? If someone held civilly liable of abusing a woman?
No.
Oh, okay. So if you're not okay with it, well then why are you okay with him being president?
Let's talk about the case, right? She's saying that this instance happened in one of the most probably popular department stores at the time. Do you even know the name of the department store?
Yes, Bergdorf Goodman.
Okay, perfect. So this is one of the most popular department stores in all of New York City. She's saying that this alleged event happened in the dressing room. Parker, why are they in a dressing room together? If none of this was consensual, why are they in a situation where?
Wait. Are you saying that it is not possible to revoke consent after you specifically have been around them?
Oh, so you're saying that she gave consent?
No, she did not give consent to engage in intercourse. She gave consent to engage in specifically what's it called? Engaging in just like talking to them or being around them or being
really in a dressing room?
Yeah, that you understand that's not consent to sex. right?
How many women invite you
Wait,
into the
wait, wait.
dressing room?
Is that consent to
Is that consent to being
answer
in
the question?
private quarters where one person is undressing
Can
in
you
an
answer
intimate
the
setting?
question?
Sure.
Is that consent to sex?
We don't know. We don't know how
What do
they
you
ended
mean
up
you
in the
don't
dressing
know?
room together.
No. Obviously, it isn't the case that just consenting to go into a dressing room with someone is consent to sex. Clearly,
So okay,
someone.
so you tell
Wait,
me.
wait,
So you
wait.
tell me what did
I
she?
want you to answer this.
What did she?
Hold
What
up,
did
hold
she
up, hold
intend to
up,
do
hold up, hold
in
up,
the
hold up,
dressing room?
hold up, hold up. What specifically? You goddamn it, you're so annoying. You literally like spoke so much that I can't even remember what we were referencing. Can you repeat what you were just saying?
Okay, so what I was saying is, why are these two individuals in a dressing room together whenever we know there's only one intention to go into a dressing room, and that's to change clothes, right? So that means that one person is taking off their clothes or both in order to change clothes. So that puts them in an intimate setting where they're now derobed and they're looking at each other in the naked sense, right? So now,
That's not
why is
necessarily
she
true.
inviting? Hold on. Okay, so what are the reasons that they go
But
into
also,
the dressing room?
like
you understand that you're not always naked in a dressing room, right?
and also, I feel like you keep like skimming past or not really engaging with the
Santana,
consent point.
can I also clarify one more thing as well? Is like, again, even if it is the case that you're naked, being naked does not mean you consented to sex.
Exactly.
Okay, so then why didn't she? If this alleged event happened, and they're in this dressing room in one of the most popular department stores in all of New York City, why did she not make a scene? Why did no one see them going in there?
Wait,
Why did no one?
are you saying that if someone doesn't make are you saying if someone shuts down when they're being sexually assaulted, that they didn't get sexually assaulted?
I'm saying that there's obvious reason to believe that she's lying.
Wait, how is it? Wait. Why do you jump to immediately she's lying if it is the case that there wasn't a quote unquote scene that was made?
Let me ask you this: Do you think
I want you to answer my questions, or I'm going to kick you from the stream.
Okay, what was your question?
You're saying that it didn't happen if it is the case that she specifically didn't quote unquote make a scene. Why is it the case that it disputes the likelihood that this has happened, given the case that someone quote unquote didn't make a scene? Why are you saying that's indicative of her being or not being assaulted?
So it's not totally the fact that she didn't just make a scene, but in order for them to both come out of this dressing room where she's alleging that she was just SA'd and that it was a huge traumatizing experience for her and all these horrific things, then why is that on nowhere? Why did she not make a police report? Why did nobody inside of Bergdorf Goodman?
Hey, Tommy, you do understand that most you do understand that no, because you're victim blaming. It's weird and it's gross. You do understand that most victims don't actually come forward, right? You do understand that the United States of America, the society that we live in, actually makes it more makes it more comfortable for those people that commit that type of crime to not actually be persecuted. Like they literally, what you're doing right now is a reason why these women don't come out and speak out, because people, one, don't believe them, two, say, well, what were you wearing? Why didn't you do this? Why didn't you do that? Or we don't believe you. What's your proof? Like literally, the reason why she wouldn't do it is because of what you're doing right now. We don't protect these victims of.
What about situations where people such as Tupac or LeBron James or other people of high stature that have been accused of these alleged?
Why Tupac and LeBron James? Why that's?
Hold on, they were.
Wait,
also,
why Tupac and LeBron James?
They were also accused because they're both famous individuals of stature that had leisurely expenses and extravagant vacations in New York City, and they were both accused of SA against two separate females in two separate locations and two separate times, and they were both found to be unfounded.
Okay.
And you have to look at all of this from the wide eye. You
but you say that, but Donald Trump was actually held civilly liable. So you gave the reference of Tupac and LeBron James, and you even mentioned that they actually found to be innocent, but Donald Timothy Trump wasn't. So I'm confused.
They also both pleaded their innocence at their trial. Tell me, what was Donald Trump's defense at this trial? What was his defense in all of this? Name me one grounds of defense that he wouldn't have sexually proposed.
Yeah, that he
wouldn't have. Name one ground of defense
that he wouldn't have sexually abused her because she's quote unquote not his type.
Oh, that came up at trial.
But wait, so I'm confused.
Hold on. That was said at trial.
Deposition.
Oh, okay, so that was said at deposition. Was that said in trial? What was his defense? What did he plea as a ground of defense in his trial?
Yeah, that they never met. That they were never around each other.
He didn't, right? He said this is completely unnecessary. This is illogical. I was never there. Prove that I was there because I wasn't there. It's unfounded. So on and so
Yeah,
forth,
yeah,
right?
Wait,
yeah.
So he didn't
Exactly. He was
plead. He
claiming that he
didn't
wasn't
plead
there.
a
So
ground
if
of
he was
defense.
never there, why is it the case that he didn't give up his DNA?
also, I mean, are you saying that the fact that he basically said, "Oh, it's not true," versus LeBron James and Tupac basically saying they didn't do it is the difference? I'm really trying to understand where you're going with this.
So it was actually, if you look at the situation with Tupac, it was a very similar situation where it was a woman. It was well before he was even famous. It was a woman that brought up some old times, said some stuff happened that never happened. At least it was alleged that it never happened, right? Nobody really knows except for her and him. So he was interviewed by the police. It was found to be untrue as far as the investigation goes, and they didn't even pursue it in civil court. Now,
But yeah, I hear
like
you,
LeBron
right?
James.
Listen, but the thing that you're sitting here saying is literally, these two other people that you're using as a point of reference have been found innocent, but Donald Trump was held civilly liable, and you're trying to compare the two and try to find some type of nuance between those, two innocent people and the person that was held civilly liable. It doesn't connect. Literally, the evidence
So
showed that
did
Donald
Trump
Trump
not file an
actually did
appeal?
this.
Did Trump not file an appeal on that case?
So okay. So
Yes or no?
let me
Did he file an appeal? Yes or no?
did that
Uh,
appeal go through?
did he?
It hasn't yet, but it's
So
going
what's
to. It's
your
going to be
point with
pushed up
that? So
eventually down the line.
does the appeal?
And then what will happen is, hold on. And then what will happen is he'll
Hold
plead
up,
a
hold
case
up.
of defense. Hold on. He'll plead a case of defense. He'll say these are
He lost the appeal, right? Because the appeal was specifically about Eugene Carroll calling him a graceful, right? And the judge specifically said that he was a graceful as defined in a colloquial sense.
okay. So Google would see if Trump has a current appeal against Eugene Carroll findings right now.
Tell me, I just referenced.
So okay, so one appeal was denied. That doesn't mean that every appeal has been denied.
Okay, so then why are
And then
you?
also-
Wait. I'm sorry. Would you accept an appeal as reason to believe that he didn't do it?
Again, if you look at the entire case, rather
Would
than
you
just
and
what the
accept?
findings
Would you
of
and
the
accept?
state
Would you?
was,
I'm going to ask
whenever
the
you-
question
hold on,
until
hold
you
on,
answer
stop.
it. I'm
I'm
going to
gonna
ask.
answer it.
No. I'm going to ask the question until you answer it. You're specifically
gonna answer
trying
the
not to
question.
answer the question. What was
I'm
the
going to
question?
answer the question.
What
in
was
my
the question
state.
then?
Would I accept the findings in appeal?
Yes. Would you accept the appeal?
Okay, so let me answer that.
It's
Are
a
you gonna
very
allow me to
quick answer. You should have already answered it by now.
Yeah, so it depends, right? So it depends on if it's an honest appeal process or if it's just thrown out immediately with no process, right? So
And how do
if
you
you look at
determine
the
that?
totality, okay, so by looking at the evidence, right, and then they're probably going to do something along the lines of a subpoena to require Trump to submit his DNA, which he will do.
No, none of this is the way appeals the appeals court works, and he's already lost his appeal for the first trial, which was the trial for the essay. Appeals don't deal with the evidence or the statements of facts. They deal with procedural or judicial errors, and that would have been the only grounds to grant an appeal. The statement of facts are not overturned on appeal, and he's already lost the appeal for the essay trial.
Also, let's not forget the grounds of the actual appeal. It looks like here the grounds of the appeal are based on three things: one, him having presidential immunity; two, the fact that the actual amount is excessive damages; and three, claims that there was an unfair trial condition. So those are the actual grounds of the appeal that is currently pending, that was supposed to be addressed in 2024 and still has not been addressed as of yet.
That was his trial.
Right.
He already lost the appeal.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly. Like I don't understand what we're talking about. It's weird that he's trying to play like these weird semantic games.
Well, the thing that concerns me is when somebody comes and talks about this as if they understand it, when that's not even how the appeals process works. You don't bring in new evidence or dispute the evidence that was brought at trial. You don't try to get the person to provide evidence they didn't provide. You can't do that in an appeal. An appeal is on procedural grounds, which is outlined in exactly what you just said, Santana. There are grounds for appeals. And that trial, the first one for the essay, he lost. The second trial is the one that he's appealing now, and why they've got the charge for excess damages or whatever, and he's going to lose that one too.
Yeah.
Here, let me see. Thank
But
you to
no,
some
they
people.
they don't go back over the facts of the case.
Okay, so new evidence, 100% grant rights for a
Tommy,
retrial.
I'm gonna say thank you to some people real quick. And then
Retrial, that's for a criminal trial, not for a civil trial.
I'm gonna Tommy, let me say thank you to some people real quick, and then I'll let you continue with the debate real quick. Nick, thank you so much for the $30 on PayPal. Thank you so much. Get some W's for Nick in the comment section right now. Thank you so much, Nick. I appreciate the $30. Thank you. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much, Nick. Can we get some W's for Nick in the comment section? Matthew, thank you for the $10. Thank you so much for what do you mean by believe? What do you mean by believe? Melody, thank you for the $6. Louise, thank you for the $10. Thank you so much. And Sid with the $50. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. For Trinity just requested to follow me and DM'd me saying, I better not see you send money to Parker again. So this is for Trinity Heart. That's so funny. All right, you can continue, Tommy.
Hey, real quick, I have a fun game that I play with Trinity now because she comes into my lives as well. I don't block her. I just mute her for the entire live. Every account that she comes in, I mute her so she can sit and watch. She just can't comment.
That's actually kind of funny. All right, Tommy, you there?
Yeah, so if you look at all of the statistics in previous cases, as far as, for one, jury instruction, and this can be in all of the cases tried against Trump, right? The entire process of all this has been pure political founded. Every single thing has been political persecution. None of these charges would have been brought against any one other person individually had he not been running for presidency. None of this would have even have come up in the first place. They're charging him with felony charges that nobody else has ever been charged for felony charges for. It's 100% political persecution based on liberal mindsets. Such
Because
as
no one else
today.
for president has done this. You do understand that these charges that he was charged with federal, the actual fraud. Are you talking about the fraud, or are you talking about the actual E. Jean Carroll case? Because now you're conflating. But you do understand that these charges wouldn't be brought on other people because no one did this while running for president.
Is he pivoting to like the criminal
It's
trial?
all
Yeah, that's what it seemed
all
like.
charges.
He was
No,
moving to
it's all
the
charges.
34
It's
count
both the
felony.
civil cases. It's both the civil cases and
So
the
what proof
actual
do you have that
criminal
the civil
cases.
case was politically motivated? Since it's a civil
Okay,
case is
well
brought by
let's start with
a,
it. Let's start with it didn't come up until after he was running for
a,
office.
a civil case is brought by an individual.
Absolutely,
So
and it didn't come up until after he was running for office. How weird is
so
that?
Why did Donald Trump end up getting sued?
why
Because
did
a
she
woman
file
lied about him. Because a woman
Mm-mm,
lied about him and saw an
mm-mm.
opportunity where she could get hush money real quick
What?
to keep the
hush
case
money?
out of
What?
trial. And then Trump decided that he wasn't going to go that route.
I have
That
a
he
I have a
was
question. I have a question.
Whoa, whoa,
this
whoa,
would
whoa,
never
whoa! Hold on
happen.
a second.
And
Did you
then
just say
and then
something
hold on,
about
hold on.
hush money?
And then a jury.
Now you're
And then a jury.
confusing it with yet another trial. There's no hush money involved in the E. Jean Carroll case in any regard whatsoever. What are you talking about?
That was a term that I was using to reference how she was seeing this as a whole. Of she saw an
No.
opportunity to make a quick bag grab, if you would.
That's what you're.
She saw an opportunity to come
That's
in and grab a
conjecture
bunch of
by
money,
you.
and she
You
did
don't have
that.
any proof of that whatsoever. You're just making
Just
this
like
up.
she don't have any physical proof that any of this act.
Wait, Tommy. So
Yeah, she does
she
actually.
does. 1 second. Two, as it relates to this.
What is it? What's the
Tommy,
physical
Jesus
proof that she
Christ, he
has?
can't. Oh my God. Can I speak? Is that okay, Tommy? Are you listening to me? If it was specifically just for money, why didn't she go after any other rich guy? Like, wouldn't it be easier to address or do this to do any other rich guy rather than the president of the United States who's going to have a whole cult like following that's going to come after you?
Also waiting till you're 80 years old.
She's also a millionaire.
So not every other rich guy has the hatred for them that he does in New York. Whenever she saw this opportunity, it's something that she knew that a jury of 12 people that would be
Nine
Wasn't a
people.
jury of 12
against him.
people,
It was
Tommy.
No, I'm
9
sorry,
people.
9 people, whatever it is. She knew that the odds of them finding enough people to be biased against him were good. She saw the opportunity was perfect.
It was a
and
unanimous
timing.
decision when the decision did not have to be unanimous. Explain that.
You're just making shit up, Tommy.
Yeah.
You're just
How am I
making
making
shit
it
up.
up? Whenever,
You're
so
because
you're
you
telling
don't
me.
know this
So then,
because you
okay,
don't know
okay,
this
so
woman.
then,
Can
okay,
I
so
finish?
neither do you.
Can I finish my
Neither
sentence?
do you.
Yes, I do. She's my aunt. That's why I'm here.
Yeah, I call bullshit. You're just lying like you do all the time.
Parker, would you like
What?
me to provide proof of that? Because I can.
No, you don't have to provide proof at all. It is the case that like I know that and I can verify that. So like,
Well, then your aunt's a liar.
okay, so
Like,
why
cool.
would
I'm
you
glad
say
that
that to
you
someone,
think that,
you
Tommy.
weirdo?
So do most other people. That doesn't mean anything to me.
Tommy, well, Parker, the reason why he would say that is because you've already hit it on the head. Tommy is a cult member. There's nothing that anyone's going to be able to say that's going to change his opinion. He's a grape apologist, a victim blamer, and a cult member. You're being weird, Tommy. You don't know the actual facts of the case. You keep conflating multiple cases. You're speaking from the feelings in your tum-tum and not a lick of intelligence. This isn't good, Tommy. You're not doing good.
Listen, you're accusing me of using emotion to set my findings whenever it's actually the complete opposite.
You just said that you
Tommy,
use the
Listen,
term
Trump-
on your
listen,
own.
Hold on.
You are,
If
Tommy,
Trump came
because
outside
you have
tomorrow-
decided
hold on,
with
If
no
Trump came
evidence
outside
whatsoever. No,
tomorrow
I'm
and
not going to
said,
stop
"Hey
talking. You're
guys,
going
the
to
sky
stop
is
talking.
blue." You guys
You
would
have
say, "Holy
decided
shit, Trump just said the
with
sky."
no evidence whatsoever that she has saw an
Why
opportunity for
is life
this, and
fucking
that's why
blue?
she
Like,
did
come
this,
on,
and
dude.
she's politically motivated, and she did this because of this. You don't know any of these things. You're
Okay,
making
well then
this
get
up
her.
from
She's
your
your aunt. Get
feelings.
her on live right now. Then get on the live.
I'm not going to do that. She's 80 years old and she's not on TikTok.
Exactly.
right.
And why
Or-
would
or you're-
hey
or
Tommy,
you're
why
lying.
would you want to get a victim on a live in front of thousands of people to relive
Again,
what
because
happened
I
to them?
believe she's a liar.
Tommy, you are weird.
Yeah,
You're
what a
weird.
What a weird thing to do.
Because
Especially
I
when
believe
you're
she's a liar.
especially when you're sitting here and you're saying that she's lying. No, she's not lying. You have no evidence. You have no reason to believe that she's lying.
She doesn't
You're
have
just
any
saying.
physical
You're just
proof
saying.
that what she
Wait.
said is
I
legitimate
have a
finding
question.
either.
What do you consider physical proof?
Physical proof would be something undeniable, such as the DNA that she alleges that she has on this dress. That should be
He
no
does.
Wait.
problem to
So
turn
if there's
over.
DNA,
So
if
now
they-
here's the deal. Now hold on. Here's the deal. Donald Trump.
So
has
let me
been
clarify.
elected
So let me
president.
clarify.
Hold on.
If the DNA on the dress is Donald Trump's DNA, would you say that undeniably and definitively that Donald Trump did it?
Yes.
Okay. So then why didn't Trump
Yes.
give
And
up
then-
his
and then now
DNA
here's the
right
deal,
away?
Hey, hold on. Here's the deal. Now Trump has been elected president. That means that what? The United.
Why didn't he give up his DNA within the allotted time? He had multiple years to do so.
Hold on.
2 years.
So hold on. Listen. So Trump has been elected president, which means that his DNA is now on file. So that means that at any point in time they could run that DNA.
No,
through
that's
the
not how that
database.
works at
That's
all.
not
That would
civil
be
courts.
illegal.
Civil
No.
courts can't do that.
Really? So okay. So then how
Again,
do they get,
he's
how
just
do they
saying
get-
stuff. He
hold on,
has
hold
no
on. So how
idea
do
what
they
he's
get-
talking
how do they
about.
get- hold on. So how do they find these ARIS?
By the way, he just made that up. He just totally made that up. All right.
Yeah.
They cannot through a civil court go and find that.
No, you can't do that. In a civil
No,
case,
they
you
could-
have to
they could
volunteer
subpoena
your
it.
DNA.
They
They
could
can't
subpoena
subpoena
it, though.
it from you, which is why
They could subpoena it though, and he could give them their permission.
Did you
right?
hear what I just said, Tommy? You can't subpoena DNA from someone in a civil case. That's only done in criminal cases. That's
Okay,
why
they
they
could still
didn't get
they could
it.
request it. They
And
did
they did
request it, and
request
he
it
said
for
that he
2
would do it
years.
at the
They
last
requested
minute, and
it.
they said no.
Tommy, he requested it for 2 years. They requested it from him for 2 years, and he said no for 2 years.
For
He had
2
every
years.
opportunity in the
So you're
world.
saying that he never, at no point did he say, "Okay, I'll give you my DNA."
Not until
until
after the
after.
deadline for submitting new evidence, when the court closed new evidence from coming in from either side, did he
But
say, "Oh, okay, I'll do
such
it."
damning evidence would likely be illogical for them to turn down. So why would they do that?
Well, because
why
the
would he
judge.
do that? You
Yeah,
tell us.
Exactly. The judge said that, but again, flip it on its head. If it's something that would completely exonerate him, I mean, make his complete case. I mean, like literally blow this thing wide open. Why wouldn't he do it, Tommy? Why wouldn't he? If the judge told him, you have this amount of time to actually turn this evidence in, and this is something that was going to completely clear Donald Jimothy Trump's name, why wouldn't he just say, hey, here's the stuff that you need? Why wouldn't he do that, Tommy?
Well, for one, this is someone that's going and completely lying about his time.
Cool.
His
If you think that he was
character,
lying,
his visual-
if you
hold on,
think
listen,
if you
she
think
was
E.
lying.
Jean Carroll was lying and
Can
she
you
was,
ask me a question and I'll-
you
and
can
I'll
right.
finish
You
the
think that
answer
she
or
was
what?
lying and you can prove it. Why wouldn't he submit his actual DNA if she was lying and this would
He offered
this would
to.
prove it?
He offered to, did he not?
After 2 years, when the judge sent court orders to both sides, like they do in every trial, saying no new evidence will be accepted after this point. We are starting trial in X number of days. You cannot submit any new evidence after this point. Both sides knew that. And then after that point is when they said, okay, well, maybe we'll give it over. But he had 2 years
Teresa, thank you
before
so much
that
for $10. By the way, I'm muted on TikTok.
the plaintiff's lawyers requesting it from him, where he said no every single time, every month for 2 years.
Okay, so just because that he felt that he was in the right and he had no need to offer his DNA until that he saw that they were indeed going to continue on with the propaganda and bullshit trial, then he was like, okay, fine, listen, I'll give you my DNA. Now this is the pain in my neck. Let's just get this over.
Tommy, you
Yeah,
are
sure.
just
You're just
like
making
making
shit
this
up now.
You're literally just making this up.
No,
Because
no,
Tommy,
no, no,
Tommy, the
no,
reason
no,
why
no,
we know
listen.
that you're just making this up is because, and the reason why we know that you're just bullshitting this is because Donald Trump explicitly had multiple years. It's not just an oopsie, in multiple years.
If they had decided to accept that DNA after the deadline, it would have extended the trial another 6 months to a year, if not longer. But he didn't do it in the 2 years that he had to give it. You have all kinds of
Okay,
excuses in
and
the
if
world.
6 months,
Can I
six
finish,
months to
please?
undeniable proof. Y'all
Yeah,
don't let me finish anything.
yeah, I
6
don't
months,
care, because you're just sitting here victim blaming and making up your own facts.
6 months for undeniable.
Hey, Tommy, what do you do for a living? Tommy, what do you do for a living?
I own a couple of businesses.
Oh, awesome, awesome. Okay, so you own a business. Tommy, if you have an employee, if you have an employee that works for you, and you tell this employee that you need them to provide you with X, and you give them a date to provide X, and they don't provide X within that date, and you say, you know what? I know I said then, but I really need this. So I'll give you an additional couple of days to get me X. And then the employee comes back, the date comes and they still don't have X. But Tommy, you're a good man. You're a great boss. You have a little bit of leniency. You say, you know what? Hey, this is your last chance. I'm telling you, I need this. I'll give you 10 more days. 10 days roll past. And then you come back to that employee and say, hey, employee, I need X. And the employee says, I don't have it. Tommy, what do you do?
Is the information I'm asking for an appropriate piece of information?
Just answer the question. You need X. You need X. You have given multiple. You've given that employee multiple times to give you X, and the employee still has not given you X. What do you do, Tommy, with you and your business?
Is it something that I'm legally allowed to ask them for?
Yes.
Okay, well then, I mean, it depends. There's several things. They could go on a leave of absence. They could have non-paid leave of absence, or maybe a probationary period. There's several things.
Yeah, so you're going to take a certain measure because this employee has not actually met your standard, right, Tommy? So you're going to, so Tommy, you're going to let the employee just do whatever?
You can't correlate the two, because them asking him for DNA, as you guys have repeated many times in a civil trial,
Tommy, you are disingenuous. This is a disingenuous conversation.
No, it's not. No,
yes, it is, because
it's basically like you saying, hey, if you asked your employee if they were married, and they said, hey, I don't want to answer that, and I keep pushing and saying, no, hey, are you married? Are you married? Are you married? That's against the law, right? That's something that I can't do as an employee.
I literally just said legally it's something that you can do, just like legally they can request for Donald Trump to submit his DNA. That was a legal request, and that's what we're talking about. Donald Trump decided he did not want to actually follow through with that request. He was given multiple times to actually do so. That's why he had a 2-year window to do it, and the judge finally put a deadline on him, and he waited until after the deadline to try to do it because he knew that he couldn't do it after the deadline. Tommy, you're weird.
Answer this question. Was he legally obligated?
I'm not answering shit, Tommy. You haven't.
Because it's exactly right, because he wasn't. And you're sitting here trying to compare apples to squash. It doesn't correlate.
Wait, can you give us like an actual specific point? Like
Absolutely.
here, how about this? How about this?
Obligated.
How about this?
He's
How
not
about this?
obligated in any court.
What evidence?
He's not obligated.
What?
He's not obligated. Hold on. He's not obligated under any law or statute to provide that particular piece of evidence. However,
Sure.
in my situation of asking somebody for information or paperwork, if it is legal, then it's completely separate, because them asking him for something that he's not obligated to give is not the same as me asking my employee for something that they are obligated to give. So your hypothetical doesn't make sense.
Okay, so can I ask you a question? Right, if he never met her, does he have good reason to give up his DNA?
Sure.
Okay. Should he have done it within the time slot allotted?
I'm not an attorney, so I don't know.
So given that you said that it would make sense for him to give up his DNA, right?
Sure. And he did offer, right?
So after the point in which he had the.
When does it matter when it happened if he offers them?
Can I please finish?
Sure. Let me Google this.
What does it matter? What does it matter? Like, for example, if you turn in your homework after the point in which it's due, would that matter to the teacher? I'm sorry.
Now he's not a lawyer, but all this up and
That's exactly what I was thinking.
He thought he was, and now he's having to actually Google facts from the case.
Yeah. Hey,
he thinks that you can go to an appeals court and argue facts and evidence, which can't be done.
Hey, Parker, how long are you
So
gonna be
again,
on? Hold
this
on one
is a
second, Tommy.
standing
Hold on
evidence.
one second, Tommy. Parker, how long are you gonna be on?
I'll be on for hours.
Okay. My wife and I are going to dinner. If you're still on when I get back, I'll come back.
All right, for sure. I'll see you then.
All right. See you later.
Justin, thank you for the $10. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Thank you. I really appreciate it. Grace, thank you for the $5. Thank you so much.
So let me ask you this, Parker.
I have
If
a
you're in a
question.
department store,
No, no, no,
if
no.
you're in a department,
If you were quote unquote falsely accused of SA, would you and you had the evidence to disprove it? Would you wait 2 years to give up that evidence until after the deadline?
sure, if I'm trying to make that person waste all their money in attorney fees.
That's not how attorneys get paid in civil trials.
Oh,
My,
really? So you're saying that all civil trials are held on pro bono?
that's not what I said either. They
Okay,
don't get paid an
so
hourly fee.
how
They
do,
don't get paid on retainer. They don't get paid for the amount of time that they work. They get paid based on
a
whatever reward
percentage?
is given if they win.
Okay, is it so?
If
Is
they
that the
don't
case?
win, they don't get paid at all.
Also, I just want
That's
to
how it works in civil trials.
I just want to let you know in terms of the civil case, right? You're actually not even disputing anything about the case in particular, right? You're just saying you essentially just don't feel like taking it into account. That's all you're
No,
really saying.
I did. I 100% did dispute the case itself. I mentioned it several times. Y'all just couldn't refute the act.
I got you. In the situation with the DNA, right? Would it be
Not just the
indicative?
DNA. It was not just the DNA.
Would someone be more likely to be guilty if it is the case they didn't give their DNA up within the context of the time slot allotted?
Okay, so if they offered to give their DNA. Period.
Would they be more likely to be guilty if they did not give up their DNA within the time slot allotted?
Did he give up his DNA? Did he say, "Hey, I will give
I
you my
like how
DNA"?
he's not answering I'm not answering a single question for you until you answer my question.
Okay, so I mean, in this case, because I know what happened, I'm going to say no. It doesn't find him guilty. The fact that he didn't offer it up.
I asked you if it was more likely. Could you listen to the words
wasn't
that come out of
something
my mouth?
required to do by law. Why would he make your job easier?
I asked you if it would make it more likely. Did you hear that?
Okay, and I'm supposed to give you the analytics on a probability. Like, what am I, like Chat GPT, bud? Like,
You don't need to be Chat GPT. I'm confused. To answer this
okay,
question.
exactly.
It's
Like,
not.
I'm not.
You don't need to be Chat GPT to answer this question. I'm confused. What do you mean?
I know the outcome already, so it's pointless. Like, I can't give you an unbiased answer there because I know that he did indeed offer his DNA. They just decided that they didn't want to take it because it was a couple of days
No,
past their
no. You're
deadline.
so disingenuous. I'm asking you, if someone does not give their DNA up within the time slot allotted for multiple years, right? Is that good reason to believe that it's more likely that they're guilty?
It could be.
Okay, it is. It is good reason to believe that they're more likely to be guilty, so it would serve as evidence, right?
Okay, now is somebody offering their DNA up in a trial like
Doesn't
this where
answer my
it's alleged
questions.
that hold on. And now now is it more likely that somebody's innocent if they is reason to believe that the DNA of the alleged attacker's DNA is on a dress that this person says that they have? So would it be more likely that that person is innocent if at any point in time they offered their
Not if it
DNA?
was the case that it was after the deadline and they knew
So
that it
if you
wasn't going
understood
to
exactly
be
how
shown.
this whole thing played out once he did that, you wouldn't be saying this because it was already well established that no matter what came up, the trial date was set. The date for the trial to start was set. They were not going to push it back anymore, which is why they weren't going to accept any new evidence. Both parties knew this. Both parties agreed to it. It wasn't until after that agreement and the trial date set that they said, oh, well, maybe we will, because they knew that no matter what they said at that point, the judge was still going to say no because those were the rules. And the trial date was set. So I think it makes him look worse. So, I mean, either
Well,
way,
you can
he had
believe
2
whatever
years
you
to do it.
want. Somebody offering their DNA in a
It was
case
too
where
late
there's
by then.
evidence,
It was
it
too
doesn't matter.
late.
Okay,
It
so
does matter.
how does
He
it?
had
How
2
okay?
years. He had
Let me
2 years.
let me ask you this: if you're dealing with a case of your own, right, where let's say somebody's saying that you broke into a building and there's some blood on the floor, and they're saying, "Hey, this is your blood. We think that you did it. It's way past the statute of limitations, but this person is looking to sue you." And you're like, "Oh no, I didn't do that." And they're like, "Okay, cool. We're going to take you to court." And you're like, "Okay, perfect. Let's go to court." And you get to court, and they're putting out all of this blasphemous style of rhetoric, saying that you're this horrible person and you broke in and killed all these babies and all this stuff, right? And you're like, whoa, 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 wait a second. I didn't do none of those things. No, I'm not helping you with anything. Take me to court. I didn't do anything. You guys get to court, and then you're like, oh, okay. Well, I'll tell you what. you're found guilty because somebody says that they saw somebody that looked like you doing it, right? Would you assume that case held
Would you give up
after?
your DNA to prove that it wasn't you in that
What the hell
circumstance?
are you even? How is
Yeah,
this
like what
even
is this guy? I
remotely
don't even know what
analogous?
this guy's saying, but I'm saying, would you give up your DNA in that circumstance?
Well, now here's the question: if somebody accused
If
me of
somebody,
doing that, if somebody accused me of doing that, and in their initial paperwork for suing me, they requested that I give a sample of my blood to prove it wasn't me, I would have given it to them that day.
okay,
Exactly.
so that's where you and I separate. If somebody is blasting me online saying that I did all these things that I didn't do, in my mind, I'm not going to help you do anything. And I
So
want you.
why don't you prove them wrong right away? Just prove them wrong right away.
Plus, I don't believe you. I know you would give a sample of your blood to
I
prove
don't
that it wasn't
believe that
you.
you
Anybody
use
would.
Carol's niece either.
Yeah, I don't care, Tommy. Who are you? Who the fuck are
Exactly. I'm
you?
a self-made individual. I don't try to ride off the back of liars.
I'm not riding off anything. First of all, she's not a liar. And second of all, the only reason I talk about this is because I know more about it than most people do because I was there and I'm related to her. I don't care what you think of me, Tommy.
Okay, so
If you think I do,
how
you're
is she as a
wasting your
person?
time.
Tommy, also, like,
Okay, so
why did
how
you
is she as a
feel,
person?
Tommy, why did you feel the need to, like, mention that you are self-made? Like, what was the point of mentioning
Self-made.
that?
Okay, so let me ask you a question. Are you close with your aunt?
Yes.
Okay, why is he just, like, completely ignoring me?
I don't know, but she didn't get my
I
2
didn't hear you,
master's
so I was
degrees
trying to
for me.
answer
I did that by
myself.
myself, Tommy. So
I don't even
next.
know who you are. All I know is you just jumped on here
Doesn't
randomly.
matter.
Tommy, who the
if
f are
you know who
you?
I am.
Tommy, who are you?
All I know is you jumped on here talking about that liar.
Tommy, I just want to let
Because
you
you
know.
are dead wrong about the things that you're saying. You think that you can present new evidence in an appeal. That's not how
They
that
can.
works, friend.
He can. Donald Trump can 100%.
No, they cannot.
Maybe
They
not in
absolutely
civil.
cannot.
Maybe not in
They
civil court, but he
absolutely
could
cannot.
countersue. Could he not countersue?
In criminals, you can't do it in criminal court either. It's
Did I
procedural
say criminal
errors
court or did I say
only.
in civil
Constitutional
court?
errors.
Could he
You
not
cannot
counter? So you're
relitigate a
saying,
case. You cannot relitigate the facts of a case in an appeal. That is not how that works.
I don't think it's productive with him. That was horrible.
Somebody was saying in here that that's not necessarily how attorneys get paid in civil trials. I understand there's nuance to that and like the leeway in some of these things, but for the most part, if you sue somebody and you hire an attorney to represent you, if you do not win, they don't have to get paid. You don't pay them like an hourly. They get a percentage of your reward. That's how it usually works, at least in New York State.
Yeah, crazy.